signal now for when I'm needed. But when that light hits the sky, it's not just a call. It's a warning to them.
Yes, sir. Welcome to Beyond the Bat Signal. I'm your host, Domenic. Join me as we dive into the depths of Batman's lore, dissecting the Rogues Gallery, and uncovering the stories of our iconic vigilante known as the Dark Knight. Welcome to another, and I'm going to say a different episode that I am typically doing, where I'll get into that in a second. But first and foremost, I want to thank each of you guys for tuning into today's episode. And in your free time, if you have a minute to spare, if you can rate and review this show either on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or iHeartRadio, it would really help the show out and it helps spread the word. And it really does go a long way to getting the show recognized. Just recently, I was actually on a podcast with Ryan Lauer on his podcast, The Batman Book Club, where we dissected Batman Going Sane. It was a story from the Legends of the Dark Knight, which you can go over to Ryan's show and tune in. I had a blast recording with him. That guy, top dog. And quick shout out to Peter Vera, who he says we're not talking because I'm a Jays fan, and right now Jays are on top. So if you guys are from the New York area, listen, it's very Canadian to say I apologize, but for once that the Blue Jays are on the top of the AL East, it's kind of nice, and I'm not going to be apologizing for that one. Anyway, so with that being said, let's get into today's episode, where it's going to be a segment where it's called What's Your Take? And I really, really encourage listeners to shoot me an email at beyondthebatsignal@gmail.com or on X/Twitter at beyondbatsignal and tell me what your take is on certain questions. So what I did was there was a lot of burning questions that I think a lot of Batman fans have and are divisive on. So I jotted them down, and there's others where actually I got ChatGPT to just kind of write me some questions that Bat fans go back and forth on. And I didn't look at them, and it's kind of going to be off the cuff. And I'm just going to say yes guy, no guy, and I'll expand on my reasoning. So let's give that a shot. Let's see how this episode goes. There are a couple of upcoming episodes that I'm pretty excited about. One, it's going to be Batman The Last Halloween, issue 9 coming out. And then we also have something to do with The Long Halloween, which I'm going to be talking about next month, where we're hitting October. And listen, when it comes to October, it's a lot of fall and it's a lot of Halloween. So you can only imagine what's going on. But with that being said, let's get into today's segment of What's Your Take? Okay, so these are hot debates amongst Batman fans. I'm having fun with this, but these are questions that fans would argue about. I know I see it on YouTube, podcasts, I'm listening to it. Listen, I even got opinions, and I'm sure that if you're, I guess, socializing either at a comic book store, there's going to be people that have opinions. And listen, it's okay, right? Like, this is just a fun hot take. There's no wrong answers, just fun little discussion. So let's shine the signal on the first question. This one was, should Batman be in James Gunn's DCU? What's your take? And I say, no guy. The Batman. So Matt Reeves' Batman, sorry. Let me rephrase this. Should the Batman from Matt Reeves' universe be in the DCU universe? And no guy. He should not be in. No chance. The way that Matt Reeves has constructed that universe, and then you look at Superman that James Gunn just created, a lot more pop, a lot more. I use popcorn. It's like much more of a popcorn flick, whereas you look at the Batman, that's just cinematic art. And I'm not saying that the other one's not art. I'm just saying that the Batman universe is very grungy, a lot more of a mature viewing audience. And, you know, the way that Batman orchestrates himself is very grounded. And there's two types of Batman, I feel like, we've seen where there's ones that, you know, he can get a little fantastical. It's not my preference, but this one is not. He's very grounded, and just the universe, by watching The Penguin, you could tell it's all based in Gotham. It's a city grunge that's filled with grunge, and it just has no place, in my opinion. Matt Reeves' Batman has no place in the DCU. So that's my first hot take. Up next, should Batman kill the Joker? What's your take? Here's another one. No guy. Right now, I mean, listen, I get it. The horror and trouble that Joker has caused, to be honest, more death than anyone in Gotham. And it's so hard to study him for Batman. Like, Batman could do all the detective work, and there's no patterns with the Joker because he just does things, like Ledger's Joker would say. But it's like, you know, and he killed Jason Todd, and just based on the comics, that weighs on Batman, and it obviously darkens him. And, you know, you look at how Batman carried himself after Jason's death, and it's like, you know, his one rule was no killing. And then that kind of goes into the whole debate of, should Batman kill or not kill? You ask Zack Snyder, the guy's like, listen, it's old school. Batman can kill. Let's like kind of grow up and move forward. And I'm big on, no, he should not kill anyone, period. And I love that when Chris Nolan was doing it, and you had Christian Bale's character say, that's what separates us from them. I won't kill. I'm not an executioner. And I just think that there's like a moral weight of letting the Joker live. So it's kind of fascinating because, one, obviously interesting storytelling, but he won't kill. And it's like, no matter how much harm, it's let's try to do this the right way, as Jim Gordon would say. But, you know, then does that mean there's the question of, well, is Batman responsible for all these future crimes? Right? Joker goes and kills someone else, and he had the opportunity to take out Joker. And no, right? Like, it's also like a foundational of how to change Gotham. And I think that Batman's trying to do that is to help improve Gotham City and the law. But, like, you know, Joker's always getting out and causing chaos. And it really does beg the question for a lot of people, like, should Batman kill? And it's like, no. We saw Bruce Wayne / Batman kill in Tim Burton's Batman. But I never thought of it as like, oh man, he's an executioner. Never felt that way. And then when Joker died in that, like, that was kind of his own fault. Batman didn't do it. It was more about saving a life. Same thing with Nolan. Like, he had to save Jim Gordon's kid. And unfortunately, you saw Harvey Dent die. But I don't think Batman should be killing. Like, zero chance. It just doesn't belong. Other characters, fine. But with Batman and his code, like it just there's something to be stuck with his character, and that's a big thing for me, and I think a lot of fans. But I'm kind of curious because that's a debate that's hotly discussed. And like I said, you have Zack Snyder. He'll say absolutely. I mean, we clearly saw in the Zack Snyder universe of how he was holding a gun and taking out guys in that dream sequence. So, but it's interesting debate. Like I like it. I like to hear people that are for it, what you think for Batman. But the psychology behind Batman's code, like this is what made Batman is I want to improve Gotham. I want to make sure that I do it the right way, even as a vigilante. And like this was his code. This is what he stood for ever since as a child. But what's your take? Like, is Batman right to keep Joker alive? Yes? No? Really curious. Number 3 of what's your take? Who's the real Mask? Bruce Wayne or Batman? There's no yes guy, no guy on this one, but I'll definitely say the Mask is Bruce Wayne. And it's playboy, billionaire Bruce Wayne. You know, Batman is the one who, that's his true face in my opinion. But the true identity is, in my opinion, Batman. And just based on portrayals from comics and movies, you see the playboy billionaire who just kind of plays as an aloof. And that to me is the true Mask, where he's just acting like, yeah, I got to go here. Oh, I got to go here. I'm traveling. If you read The Long Halloween or the sequel to that, which is, oh my God, I'm forgetting it. That's right, Dark Victory. And, you know, Batman or Bruce Wayne's just like, oh, I gotta go. I forget where he had to travel to and with who. But really, like, the Mask is Batman, where, like, he's a lot darker of a character. And we see it in The Batman, where Bruce Wayne really hasn't developed that that Bruce Wayne persona, like that playboy. He is, you know, almost nocturnal, as we saw in the Batman, where he's wearing those sunglasses inside. But his whole life is surrounded by detective work and trying to find the criminals and take them out. The way he treats Alfred, really, until near the end of the movie, is like he's not even a human being, right? It's like, no, this guy's not a father figure. He's just there. He's an accessory. And that's how that's why I think, to be honest, that Bruce Wayne is the Mask, and Batman is the real face that, to quote Batman Begins, that criminals now fear. But, however, then you have Alfred, who sees Bruce to them more than just a cowl, and what he could do by using his resources to give to the community and to help with Gotham City, right? But then, you know, there's so many reincarnations, but like you use the Dark Knight Rises, and Alfred is just like, no, like, your time has passed as Batman. Now you have to be Bruce Wayne and go out there and be you and enjoy, go find a life, go find a wife, and, you know, but Bruce Wayne was like, my life revolves around the cape and cowl. You know, my love interest passed away, and, you know, he was completely devoted to Gotham until he was free to let it go at the end of that movie of The Dark Knight Rises. But really, you know, it seems like Batman is always going to be Batman, and Bruce Wayne is always expendable, right? I just can't see Bruce letting go of the cape and cowl. No way. But, yeah. Question number 4. I think I have question number 4. Of what's your take? Should Batman work with the Bat family? No guy, in my opinion. To me, my preference is solo Batman stories. I like team-ups. I like seeing Robins. I like seeing Nightwings. I like seeing Batgirls. Heck, even if he has to be paired up with the Justice League. However, those stories are not as compelling as solo Batman. But what's your take on that? Like, I'm really curious what you guys think. Some people love the Justice League and getting paired up. My preferential Batman stories are going to be always, always, always solo Batman stories. But then, and it's like the lone Dark Knight over mentor and leader, like how he's going to be mentoring Robins and Nightwings. Like, I don't mind those stories. Like, you look at Dark Victory, like that's a fantastic story. And even watching right now, after reviewing 8 issues of The Last Halloween and Robin's been incorporated, it's great. I love Batman Forever. But you see Zack Snyder's Justice League. Like, my preference would be solo Batman films. I'm drawn to the Nolan films, the Burton films, and now the Reeves films. And I just feel, but then at the opposite side, like, yeah, I'm sure that there's powerful team moments, but it's like all these other superheroes have like superpowers. Batman's very different. He's very grounded, which I think is very relatable. But then, you could look at other options, right? Like, look at the connections he has with Dick, Barbara, Jason, Tim, Damian. But I hate Damian. Love Tim Drake as Robin, Dick Grayson either as Robin or Nightwing, and then Barbara Gordon as Batgirl, and Jason Todd as Red Hood. It's just, then the story takes away from my favorite character of Batman. So with solo Batman, it keeps it mysterious, and I don't think it limits any story. I think the stories are limitless, keeps him vulnerable. So that's the one thing where you open him up to family, the Bat family, then he's much more vulnerable, which kind of can make a compelling story, to be honest. But what's your take? Is Batman his best self as a lone wolf, or surrounded by, in the words of Domenic Toretto, family? Okay, so now we're getting into some ChatGPT questions. Some, I'm like, okay, let's see this one. Should Batman ever retire? So what's your take on that? And I'm going to say no, guy. Like, Batman Beyond, I know it has its niche audience. People love it. I'm not a big fan. I did like Dark Knight Returns. But to me, should Batman ever retire? Selfishly, no. The guy should be fighting up until he's like 65, 70. But then who takes the mantle? So, you don't want to see Batman die. But should Batman ever retire? My ideal is this guy doesn't retire. He's the Dark Knight Returns. He finds a way to make sure that, criminals are in jail. They go to Arkham, and Batman fights endlessly and finds peace one day, where he's kind of forced to be like, okay, well, I never said I necessarily retire, but this city's pretty peaceful. But I don't know. Yeah, because it's like Batman has a mission, right? His mission is to keep Gotham safe. So if he achieves that mission, does that make him retire? Not necessarily. I think he just achieves the mission, and Batman is not needed anymore until it is needed. So, kind of curious what your take is on this one. Here's another one. If Thomas and Martha Wayne had survived, would Bruce still have become Batman? What's your take? No, guy. He would have never, ever became Batman. He would have, there's no need for being a vigilante. He would have not had a direct effect on, the loss of his parents. I think that's pretty simple. What's your take on this one? So I think this is question 6. What's your take? Who's Batman's greatest villain? Oh, man. Just listen to Ryan Lauer's recent podcast. I think it's episode 248. Where we say, who's the greatest villain of all time? So, is it Joker, Ra's al Ghul? Could it be Scarecrow? Bane, who broke him? And is this like a unanimous decision? It's Joker, right? Like the yin to the yang, really. But then, like, there are two sides of the same coin. They need each other. Batman and Joker, the best stories ever told are between Batman and Joker. And I think there's an undisputed champion when it comes to best villain of all. And it's untouched. Like, there's no, like, as I said on Lauer's podcast on the Batman Book Club, which you could check out right now. There's no 1A and 1B when it comes to villains in general. Never mind Batman villains, because Batman has like the best rogues gallery. But villains in general, Joker's number one, and then there's a number two. There's no one even close, in my opinion. Now, what's your take on this one? As we get into the rogues, is Harley Quinn better as a villain than an anti-hero? And I'm going to say yes, guy. Much better as a villain. We need female villains, like, just to diversify. Everyone becoming an anti-hero, I just don't care for it. Keep some of these characters as villains, right? Like, why do they have to all be so redeemable? They've done bad things. Like, this is what makes the story compelling. I love it that she's the Joker's boyfriend. But I also like her where she's, like, individually just so intelligent. And you could see, like, I think it was in Mad Love. I'm pretty sure it was. From Batman the Animated Series, where she figured out how to take out Batman. I think it's Mad Love. But anyway, she figured out how to take out Batman. Joker was all ticked off. And I think it was fantastic. She fully deserves to be Batman's villain and not an anti-hero. I'm not for it. That's just my hot take. Is Two-Face the most tragic out of any other villain? And I'm going to say yes, guy. The way it seems like there's a couple of iterations, but like it seems like the backstory, he had a troubled youth, bad relationship with his dad, seemed to get bipolar disorder, and then all of a sudden he whether you say he had acid thrown in his face, or he fell and all of a sudden it blew him half to hell, where like you look at the Dark Knight and half his face was lit on fire. Whether any iteration, like, yeah, it's tragic. And then you see the darkness and the evil come out. My true Two-Face story would be Batman the Long Halloween, where Maroni throws acid on him, and Harvey Dent is definitely the most tragic villain. Someone that you sympathize with, who wanted to have a family, wanted to have a wife with Gilda, and that all broke apart, and it's really sad to see. Really curious if he's introduced in the Batman. Yeah, really curious. Now, how about this one? Since I guess I kind of touched upon this one, was what's your take? Does Batman have the best rogues gallery? Bar none. Yes. Tell me otherwise, okay? Just tell me otherwise. Who comes close? I'm going to say Spider-Man comes close, but no chance. Okay, relationships. What's your take? Should Batman marry Selina Kyle? No, guy. Batman, in my opinion, Bruce Wayne, stays alone. That's my initial thought, but would it be nice to be married, or Bruce Wayne be married? Not my Batman. Maybe at the end of like a movie where you wrap it up in a bow. I actually love the way Nolan did it. So maybe I'm on the fence. But through the thick of it, no. I don't think Batman can navigate nightly with someone that he's married to. I think it's him, Alfred, and that's it. Okay? Tim Drake is the best Robin. What's your take? No, guy. Now, this is a hot take. I think Dick Grayson is still the best Robin. Damian, okay, yeah, 0 chance. Jason, 0 chance. But Tim Drake is, in my opinion, the second best Robin. Listen, I grew up, I watched with my dad the 66 series. I watched Batman the Animated Series, and I love Dick Grayson as Robin. Really enjoyed it. Even reading Batman The Long Halloween, The Dark Victory. Love that story with Dick Grayson. I've watched read Robin and Batman, and I love Dick Grayson as like his little origin story. You play Arkham Shadow, and there's a little origin story for Dick Grayson. We're all enamored by him. Yes, he eventually becomes Nightwing, but I think all Batman fans have a soft spot for Dick Grayson. Here's a what's your take question. Should Nightwing be the one to replace Batman permanently if that were to ever happen? Straight up, yes, guy. Absolutely. Like, no one knows Bruce better than Nightwing. However, Bruce Wayne has said that he would like Tim to take up the mantle one day. And that makes sense. Like, Nightwing's got Bloodhaven, so... but that's just my take. What is yours? And here's another one. Who's more important to Batman's story? I feel like me and Lauer touched upon this on his podcast. Is it Alfred or Commissioner Jim Gordon? Oh man, I'm gonna say Alfred on this one. So my take is Alfred is more important. He helped shape Bruce Wayne into Batman, training him. And Jim Gordon obviously is a huge assist. Obviously so integral to... Like, listen. What's the main components of a Batman story? You have Batman, Bruce Wayne, obviously. Alfred, Commissioner Gordon. And then the rest fall in place. But Alfred, to me, is so important. Obviously, he's not in the main continuity. As of right now, they need to bring him back. And I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir to a lot of you guys. I think. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, I think Alfred is more important to the story than Jim Gordon is. All right. I'm going to do one more question of what's your take. Is Batman the Animated Series they say Batman the Animated Series is the definitive Batman. What's my take? Yes, guy. Batman the Animated Series is the definitive Batman for all cartoons, hands down. But you look at the story and the way that Kevin Conroy changed the voice of Batman, as well as Michael Keaton, but like the way his persona of Bruce Wayne, and which was, you had Billionaire Playboy, you watch Mask of the Phantasm, like that backstory was just probably one of my favorite Bat stories, actually, really, was Mask of the Phantasm. And then, you watch his stories with Scarecrow, Joker, they all stand out. They all have something so unique that we can just draw upon. And many Bat fans are enamored by and are just drawn to out of all of them. You have the Batmobile in there. You have the Alfred personification, which is, to me, accurate. And then, like, the whole Robin, Dick Grayson thing. I think, to me, the definitive Batman, I would say, is Batman the Animated Series. I love the way that Batman looks, the way he's drawn. It's dark, it's brooding, and I don't know. He does the detective work. It's not too fantastical, so in my opinion, yeah. And he's got like quite a few stories with Riddler, Scarecrow, Joker. Some of the most entertaining ones, like the Laughing Fish, which was taken right out of Strange Apparitions. And the way they made it was just perfectly tied in a bow in 22 minutes. So, yeah. To me, Batman the Animated Series, definitive Batman. But for you guys listening, what's your take on all these questions? I actually have more questions, but I'm not going to use them all right now or say them all right now. I'm going to do another segment, maybe not October, maybe November. We'll see. And but I'm kind of curious what you guys all think. Shoot me an email at Beyond Bad Signal if you have one. Any hot takes or any questions, and or any what's your take questions that you want me to ask. I'm all for it. We can go a lot more comic focused if you want. This is just much more broader, in my opinion. And I could definitely expand on a couple, like the whole Matt Reeves universe. I'd love to discuss, or the Batmobiles and Jokers and all the, yeah, even comic iterations. But that's it for me. Where can you find me? Well, obviously on X/Twitter at Beyond Bat Signal. And you can also rate and review the show. Like I said, really helps spread the word. I was just on an episode of the Batman Book Club, as I mentioned earlier and several times throughout this episode. So you can catch me on the Batman Book Club episode 248, where we talk Going Sane. Fun discussion with Mr. Lauer over there. And yeah, that's about it for me. This is Beyond the Bat Signal. We are signing off.